A useless person like you is not needed in this company. Disappear, okay? My boss, Mary, always had something snide to say whenever we crossed paths. Finally, I reached my limit and slowly put on a smile as I spoke to him. Useless people should be fired, right? Yeah, finally, you understand. Mary seemed to sense something odd in my attitude, but believed I accepted his opinion. He quickly reverted to his arrogant demeanor and flashed a nasty grin. But at the shareholder meeting the next day, Mary would end up kneeling before me. My name is James Smith. I'm a 41-year-old salaried employee. I grew up in a comfortable household. But just before graduating high school, my father suddenly passed away from a stroke, and my world turned upside down. Losing the family's breadwinner left my mother and me wondering what to do next. My mother had been a housewife and had no work experience, and I was preparing for college entrance exams. Additionally, I had a younger brother. My brother was much smarter than me, and our father had high hopes for his future. I also thought my brother would gain much more from college than I would. So I decided to give up further education and get a job after high school. I started with a part-time job at a nearby company, and a few years later, I became a full-time employee. The company I work for doesn't pay as much as a well-known large corporation, but it has a homey atmosphere and the employees get along well. Even though I joined with just a high school diploma, they warmly accepted me. Many people took the time to share their work knowledge and give advice about my personal life. This was largely due to the president, John Williams. President Williams had also given up on college due to family circumstances and started the company with a friend. As a result, several other employees in the company, like me, only had high school or even middle school diplomas. President Williams always looked out for us, inviting us to meals and giving generous bonuses. He was so caring that every employee respected him. However, a person who disrupted this great atmosphere appeared. Her name was Mary Johnson, and she was recruited as a department head due to her exceptional talent. Mary had attended an elite private school since elementary school and graduated all the way through college on a straight path. Naturally, she was born into a wealthy family that could easily afford such expensive education, making her quite the lady. She wore different outfits every day and adorned herself with what seemed like expensive accessories and bags. While personal hobbies like that are no concern of mine, it became her daily routine to brag about her possessions to us employees. Moreover, her work attitude was terrible. She looked down on employees who didn't graduate from prestigious universities, calling them commoners. Those with high school or middle school diplomas were treated as servants. You know, people aren't born equal. Compared to someone of my caliber, you all live at the bottom of society. It's no surprise that she was avoided by everyone shortly after starting, given that she said such things with a straight face. Mary had a twisted personality, and she particularly disliked me, making snide remarks whenever we met. So, you only have a high school diploma. I don't need useless high school grads on my team. Hearing such words all the time at work recently made me feel exhausted. Once, I bravely asked her why she said such terrible things, and she casually replied, "Poor people with only a high school diploma are unpleasant to look at. I don't want you in my sight." Her response was so shocking that I was speechless. But it seemed to be her true feelings, as she never gave me meaningful work and always assigned me pointless chores whenever she had the chance. Just yesterday, she handed me a broom and a rag, telling me to clean out a storage room full of junk. This room doesn't seem to be used anytime soon. I said, "We might use it someday, right? If you clean it up now, it will be nice and tidy when we need it. Even a useless high school grad can handle cleaning a room, right?" She insisted, but I couldn't find the time to do it. "I'm sorry, but maybe someone else who is free can do it, or we can handle it during the year-end cleaning." I bowed my head, but Mary was furious that I refused. "Are you refusing a task assigned by your superior? You need to restart your career from scratch." Then she shoved the broom and rag into my hands and stood guard in front of the room as if to ensure I wouldn't leave until I finished cleaning. Seeing her stance, I had no choice but to start cleaning. But after just 10 minutes, she got bored and said, "Next time, do it as soon as you're told. I'll let you off the hook for today," before strutting off on her rounds. Finally, I could get back to my actual work at my desk, but that turned out to be a mistake. A few hours later, Mary stormed in and yelled, "Why did you stop halfway? Don't you have any sense of responsibility?" I held back my desire to argue and listened quietly until she was satisfied and left. By the time she was done, I was exhausted both mentally and physically. How did someone like Mary become a department head? Everyone in the office wondered the same thing. The reason lay in her ability to present a good front. During her job interview, she had portrayed herself as a cheerful and kind elite. I easily fooled the interviewers with my performance. It was a piece of cake to get the job by pretending to be nice. I heard this rumor going around. Moreover, she had a track record of outstanding achievements at her previous company and was brought in as a department head with a reputation for being well-versed in business management. After joining the company, Mary made a great impression on the president and other executives. At gatherings with upper management, she was all smiles and very proactive. She became such a different person that it was hard to believe she was the same individual. Come to think of it, when Mary first arrived at our office, she seemed very nice. During her introduction, she bowed politely and said, "I'm Johnson, the new department head. I look forward to working together as a team." We had high hopes for our new department head due to her polite manner. However, as time passed, her true nature became evident, and she started acting like an evil boss. Now, it's clear that Mary kisses up to the higher-ups and treats her subordinates poorly. Because of this, other employees are also very dissatisfied with her, and some even wish for a new department head. The atmosphere in the office has become tense lately. This is because incidents of theft involving employees' money and belongings have been occurring. Despite our efforts to enforce the use of locked lockers and remind everyone not to leave their belongings unattended, the thief would strike when employees' attention waned. I was eager to catch the culprit and had been making efforts to do so, but then a major incident occurred. It happened one day when I was about to go out for lunch. Mary suddenly came to my desk and slammed a document down. "Don't think you can just go out for lunch. What are you going to do about this?" The document she thrust at me contained a copy of an email and a complaint from a client. As I read it, I was shocked by its contents. "Your products are of the worst quality, frequently damaged, and overpriced. This is our IP off, and we are terminating future business. What is this email about? Don't play dumb, you're the one who sent this email." The phone hasn't stopped ringing with complaints from the client. Mary was furious, her eyes blazing, but I had no memory of sending such an email. "Wait a minute, I've never seen this email, nor have I sent anything to the client. The email address isn't even mine." I pointed to the copy and explained, but Mary refused to change her opinion. "Everyone else handling this client is a college graduate. Only a high school grad like you would send such an offensive message." She continued to insist with unreasonable logic, looking down on me with her arms crossed. "I'm telling you, I didn't do it. Not only did you make the client angry, but you also don't even apologize. Poor people are poor in spirit, too. You're not just incompetent, you're a menace to the company." Hearing this, I couldn't contain my anger any longer. Being falsely accused, told to apologize, and then insulted was too much for me to handle. But instead of backing down when she saw my anger, Mary just laughed at me. "What's with that dissatisfied look? Useless people like you aren't needed in this company. Disappear, okay?" That was the last straw. I had always swallowed my anger, but this was too much. I decided then and there to use all my power to teach Mary a lesson she wouldn't forget. Facing Mary, who was still laughing, I slowly put on a smile and spoke to her. "Useless people should be fired, right? Yeah, finally, you understand. Mary seemed to sense something strange in my attitude, but she assumed I had accepted her opinion. She quickly reverted to her arrogant demeanor and sneered at me. "Looks like you finally understand your position. It feels good to think about a useless person like you leaving." She flashed a cold smile at me. And whenever she saw me after that, she made sure to say things like, "It's refreshing not having a nuisance around," or "I'm glad to be free from babysitting an incompetent employee." But I wasn't bothered at all. In fact, I could barely contain my laughter, knowing how clueless she was. The next day, our company held its shareholder meeting. I had to attend, so I went to the venue. As soon as I entered, Mary spotted me. She stormed over with an angry expression as soon as she saw me in the room. "Why is a lowly employee like you showing up at the shareholder meeting? You probably don't know. But this meeting is for insiders only. Regular employees aren't invited. I was told to be here." I calmly stated the fact, but Mary didn't seem to hear a word I said. "I sent an email to everyone yesterday saying that regular employees didn't need to attend today. It's so troublesome when incompetent and vulgar people can't even check their emails." Saying this, she started pushing me out, trying to actually make me leave. "Come on, get out before you bother the president and others." "But I have business to attend to at the shareholder meeting." I was at a loss, not knowing how to leave when I was supposed to stay. "What's all this commotion? The shareholder meeting is about to start. This is disgraceful." I turned to see the president standing there. "Hello, actually, I was just..." As I began to explain the situation, Mary interrupted. She put on her usual polite smile reserved for the higher-ups and bowed deeply to the president. "I'm sorry. This is James Smith, and he was trying to attend the shareholder meeting without knowing his place. I, as his superior, was just sending him away." Hearing this, the president's expression grew more severe, his mouth twisting in displeasure. "What on earth are you talking about? You're absolutely right. Smith always behaves strangely, and I have trouble dealing with him." Mary started to proudly explain how incompetent and useless I was, but the president quickly cut her off. "No, that's not it. I was asking what on earth Mary was talking about." "What, me?" Mary froze, her usual confident smile turning stiff. "What exactly do you mean by strange things? Do you really not understand?" The president raised his eyebrows in exasperation at her response. "Smith here holds 90% of the company's shares as a special controlling shareholder. Of course, he has to attend the shareholder meeting." "What? That can't be true." Mary turned pale and stared at me, trembling. When I slowly nodded, she let out a short scream and collapsed on the spot. "In reality, I own 90% of the shares of the company I work for. A shareholder holding over 90% of the issued shares is called a special controlling shareholder. Such a shareholder is a powerful figure, with the right to demand all other shareholders to sell their shares through a resolution of the board of directors. This fact was known to employees at the manager level and above, but Mary was unaware. Because she had made herself disliked by acting high and mighty right after joining the company, no one bothered to inform her. What? How can someone hold 90% of a company's shares? Normally, people own just a few shares, and even having more than 50% is unusual. Mary sat on the floor, mumbling to herself, clearly in complete confusion. Unable to watch any longer, the president began to explain. This company was actually founded by my father, who served as its president. However, when I was in high school, he suddenly passed away from a stroke, and his best friend, who was the vice president at the time, took over as the president. The president also arranged for me to join the company immediately after graduating from high school to groom me as the next president. There were discussions about making me president right away, but it was decided that it would be better for me to gain experience first to avoid risking the company and its employees due to my inexperience. So, I inherited 90% of the company's shares from my father and worked on the ground while learning management skills from the president. My smarter younger brother graduated from college and now works as the executive vice president. I'm glad to see Smith has developed into a competent employee. I'm thinking about stepping down as president, and I told you this when you joined, Mary. Yeah, but... Mary struggled to get up, mumbling incoherently. It seems you weren't paying attention. I just assumed he was an incompetent, low-educated person. She was clearly shocked by my true identity. Mary inadvertently let her true feelings slip and was immediately reprimanded by the president. Watch your language. A person's worth is not determined by their educational background. But I think it's wrong for Smith to hold 90% of the shares. Instead of reflecting, Mary started arguing with the president. It's just because he's the son of the former president that he holds 90% of the shares. I am much more competent and contribute more to the company, judged by ability. I was utterly astonished that she would declare herself so superior. The president seemed to feel the same way, letting out a deep sigh before speaking in a low voice. Smith is far more competent than you. He listens to the employees' needs, constantly improves operations, and boosts workplace morale. I do that too. Mary tried to compete with me no matter what, only making the president angrier. Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I'm unaware? I've heard reports that you're harassing other employees instead of boosting morale. The president's face hardened as he began to reprimand Mary for her behavior. You put on a good face for me and the upper management, but I've been informed about your horrible treatment of subordinates. Looking down on people based on their education, assigning unnecessary tasks, and disrupting their actual work. That was just to help them grow their abilities. Mary continued with her weak excuses, but the president wasn't buying it. Enough. You don't need to say anything more. Besides, you are neither an executive nor a shareholder, so you don't need to attend the shareholder meeting. I already sent an email about this. What? I thought it was a mistake. I'm an extremely competent employee. Right. I figured the president must have made an error in the recipient list, so I was eager to attend today. To assume the president made a mistake and then crash the shareholder meeting showed just how brazen Mary was. The president sighed deeply and turned his back to her. Regardless, you weren't invited today. I'll be calling you in tomorrow, so go home for now. But I'm a highly valued department head. I'm essential for the shareholder meeting. Mary persisted, but the president sternly ordered her to leave, and she finally retreated. Watching the entire scene unfold, I was thoroughly astonished. The president was usually very gentle, treating employees like family. I had never seen him this angry, even though I had known him for a long time. This incident clearly deeply angered him. After that, the shareholder meeting concluded without further issues, and I prepared to head home. It had been a hectic day with Mary's interruption and the president's anger, so I planned to relax once I got home. I had no idea another incident was waiting for me. As I left the venue and headed toward the taxi stand, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. I turned to see Mary sprinting toward me. She quickly caught up and stood in front of me, blocking my way, breathing heavily but grinning. Oh, good, I made it in time. Why are you here? I thought you had left already. Could she have been waiting outside until the shareholder meeting was over? Mary ignored my suspicious look and started talking with a creepy smile plastered on her face. The president said he would call me in tomorrow, but I have a bad feeling about it. I thought I'd ask a favor from you, Mr. Smith. A favor? I had a bad feeling about this, and my face tensed up. Mary suddenly bowed deeply. I'm sorry for everything I've said and done. I'm apologizing. So could you please say some nice things about me to the president? You're not apologizing because you feel bad. You just want to escape blame. I refuse. I firmly rejected her and tried to leave. But Mary spread her arms wide, blocking my way. She kept bowing repeatedly while holding her arms up like in a bizarre dance, attracting a lot of attention. Unfortunately, it was a busy street, and the stares from passers-by were painfully obvious. When children started giggling at her, Mary finally seemed to realize how embarrassing she looked. "Anyway, make sure to support me tomorrow, I'm your boss, remember?" Shouting this, Mary ran off as fast as she had come. She tripped spectacularly, drawing even more attention, but I pretended not to notice and quietly left. The next day, when I arrived at work, Mary, with her leg wrapped in a bandage, approached me. "I hurt myself after I fell yesterday. I scraped my leg and got bruises, it was awful." "Is that so? What a misfortune." I responded coldly. If it had been anyone else, I would have shown concern, but considering everything she had done to me, I felt no sympathy. "More importantly, doesn't the president have something important to discuss with you?" "Right. I was told to go to the president's office as soon as I arrived." Since I was also summoned by the president, I reluctantly accompanied Mary. She kept complaining about her foot pain and insisted on walking slowly, which was really annoying. During all this, she never apologized to me. I felt justified in not forgiving her as I knocked on the president's door. Upon entering, we were met with the president's sternest expression yet. The moment she saw the president, Mary straightened up, as if she had never been complaining about her pain. "Good morning, Mr. President. What can I do for you today?" If someone hadn't witnessed yesterday's argument, they might think she was a polite woman. But the president wasn't fooled and looked at her with a cold stare. "It's too late to try and fix your attitude. Your punishment has already been decided." "Punishment? What do you mean by punishment?" Mary turned pale, but the president continued without hesitation. "You are being dismissed for misconduct. We no longer need you at this company." "You mean I'm fired? This punishment is too harsh." Mary tried to approach the president but stumbled due to the pain in her injured leg. The president remained unfazed and calmly continued his explanation. "As for the reasons for your dismissal, first is your harassment of subordinates. I haven't harassed anyone. I admit I've been strict, but it was to train my subordinates." Despite having me as a witness next to her, Mary boldly insisted on her innocence. But the president furrowed his brow deeper and pulled out a voice recorder. "This voice recorder contains your abusive remarks. When did you?" While Mary stood in shock, the president pressed play. Her familiar, nasty comments about education and job positions played back, leaving not only me and the president, but even Mary herself turning pale. "Did I really say all that? Both I and the other employees endured your abuse every day. Can you understand our suffering and anger?" My words caused Mary to waver. "I'm sorry." It was the first genuine apology I had ever heard from her. But her offenses didn't end there. "The second reason for your dismissal is that you caused trouble for our clients just to harass Smith." The president then produced the document detailing the email incident from the day before the shareholder meeting. "An investigation of our company computers revealed that the email was sent from your computer. Do you have any explanation for this?" "I'm sorry. I wrote that email." Faced with irrefutable evidence from the computer investigation, Mary finally conceded. Mary, who had admitted her guilt in a low voice, finally began to explain why she harassed me so persistently. "I worked hard to graduate from an elite university and struggled to become a department head. But Smith, with just a high school diploma, was liked by the other employees. It made me so angry. So, I thought I'd scare him a little. It was just a prank. I didn't mean any harm." Her selfish reasoning made the president slump his shoulders in exasperation. "Don't make childish excuses. And what about the third reason for your dismissal?" The president then showed us footage from the security cameras installed in the office. The video clearly showed Mary sneaking around and searching for valuables. Mary turned pale and stared intently at the screen. Her previously remorseful demeanor vanished, and she began to sweat nervously as she fired questions at the president. "How? I checked all the security camera positions. I shouldn't be on tape. Recently, employees' wallets and personal belongings were being stolen, so we installed additional security cameras. Even as a department head, you resorted to theft. What were you thinking? Scolded by the president, Mary lost all her strength and slumped to the floor. She hung her head and began to sob, but eventually, she started to speak the truth. The truth is, I bought too many luxury items and went into debt. The repayment deadline was coming up, and my parents wouldn't help me anymore, so I resorted to stealing from the employees. I had no idea Mary was buying luxury goods on credit. Not being able to repay with her salary and being abandoned by her family left her in a dire situation. Why didn't you just sell the luxury items? I muttered, and Mary burst into tears. I did sell them, but they said they weren't popular or had scratches, so they didn't bring in much money. I had held off on her dismissal, thinking there might be some reason behind her actions until I heard her side of the story. But after reviewing the evidence from the voice recorder and security cameras, it became clear that her reasons were petty and that she was a much worse person than I had imagined. It took some effort to gather all the evidence, but I'm glad I consulted the president and we made the right decision. Mary, please reflect and atone for your sins. As I spoke my final words to her, she cried and said, I'm sorry, but I couldn't believe her words until she truly paid for her actions. Afterward, we consulted the police about Mary, and she ended up with a criminal record. A thorough investigation revealed she had stolen from donation boxes at temples and shrines, which ultimately led to her imprisonment. I hope she sincerely reflects on her actions and atones for her crimes. Meanwhile, I spent my final year of training as Mr. Williams's secretary before finally becoming the president. Moving forward, I plan to continue valuing employee performance over educational background and aim to create a rewarding workplace. My brother, who was the executive vice president, has now become the vice president and is my indispensable right-hand man. His dedication inspires me to keep striving. I want to continue working with the people around me to cherish both the company and its employees.